February 19th, 2026 meeting of the Newmarket School Board. We'll start the meeting, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Well done, everyone. We were only a little out of sync at the beginning, so
We need this,
There's not enough people.
students here.
we got it together, though. That was the important part. All right, we will open the floor for public comment at 5:16 PM. Any members of the public who'd like to?
Resign it.
He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. Who'd like to comment on anything on the agenda for up to 3 minutes, please come to the microphone. Going once, going twice. All right, we will close public comment also at 5:16 PM. Did any members of the board receive any public correspondence this past week that they'd like to share? Yeah.
This isn't really board correspondence, but I'll talk about it in a minute in my report. But we did get quite a bit of feedback on the student walkout, so I would be happy to share a summary of that. We've got, Andy received a combination of 20 emails, phone calls, a mix of all different persuasions on the issue, mostly a lot of just questions about how they should manage it with their kids. That was it.
All right. Committee updates. Woo! Can we dial that down just a bit there? Because there we go, much better. Any committee meetings in the past couple of weeks?
Nope.
Wow.
Policy met.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Jeff, if you
usually
were
does it.
here. Oh, sorry, I should have mentioned from the top, Jeff Boyd isn't feeling well, so he's not with us this evening. Yeah, the policy committee did meet. We advanced a couple of policies for a first read that are on the agenda later this evening. Any board comments aside from committee updates?
Well, Todd's going to speak to it a little more fully, but yesterday we had Ashley coming in from Fair Funding in New Hampshire, and we spent 2 hours with her, and she's going to be writing up a nice story about Newmarket, the schools, and Todd I learned a lot myself, and it was, I was exhausted when I got home, not used to this, this heavy, intense, but then I just want to update you on some of the stuff that's going on in that house, in this State House, if you don't know about it already. But very quickly last night, the chairman of the Education Policy Administration, Representative Noble from Bedford, is calling a meeting on Monday, first day of vacation, to discuss 3 charter bills, which would be about making public schools charter schools, 3 of those. The other one is about consolidating the SAUs and electing the superintendent. And the other one is going to be on reading recovery. I don't know, you might remember it, Todd, reading recovery back in the 90s was a big, and it's something, I think it's more logistical than anything. However, I don't know if you go online to the online testimony and sign in and register your support or opposition, but because this was such a quick turnaround for the meeting, and being the first meeting during vacation, the first day of vacation, a lot of members had already planned vacations. So, oops. Thank you. That was on record, right? So, if you have a sense about how you feel about public schools becoming charter schools, it might be wise to look up the agenda on the legislative branch. And then today, in the session, the Charlie Act passed, which was another CRT bill. And this time they put in, I had to look up the words when I was looking at it, all these different types of philosophies that can't be mentioned in school. So that'll probably go before some court case, so that's it. And then, and then yesterday we were talking about the number of students participating in sports through the open, just in the state, and I looked it up, there's 42,000 kids in New Hampshire that participate in some kind of sports, high school. So when you're talking about open enrollment, that's one of the big things. So that's all I have on for that, and then Todd can update you more about our wonderful walkthrough with Ashley. And now I'll turn this off.
Thank you. And Todd, just stop me if you're going to cover this in your comments anyway, but the part about public schools becoming charter schools, is this a limited?
It is, I don't have it on my list because there's lots of things coming out of that are unlikely to go anywhere. But the idea was to make all public schools charter schools, meaning that all of the freedom and flexibility that charter schools get would be given to public schools. The trade-off there is less accountability, fewer standards, that kind of thing, which there are pluses and minuses to having minimum standards you have to meet, and to take them all away. It basically would create what they think is an equal playing field, but again, they have to look at the whole picture, and they are jumping into things without thoroughly vetting them, without thoroughly talking about them, and it's just, once again, another sort of outside-the-box thing that's been brought forward. In fact, I was reading a post from Representative Cahill earlier today, and just talking about, it was actually from an article that was just talking about all of the way the legislature has changed in recent years, where it used to be you had most of the legislation came about in the year, was like every other year, and it was all tied to finance. But for some reason, we've now extended it to 2 solid years of, I call it craziness, but it's very unstable. So anyways, yeah, that's what it's talking about, but I don't know that it's solving a problem that anybody has identified other than somebody thought it was a good idea.
And because it came up so quickly, these weren't on the, it just came up last night, and all of a sudden, it's like, usually you have at least a week or so to figure that out. And the last one about the SAU, of course, is electing the superintendents. Mm-hmm. That would be, that's part of the consolidation of the SAUs.
What kind of insane person runs for that job? I mean, other than the one who has it.
Well, especially if they go forward with that and district consolidation. So imagine running for the office of the Rockingham County Superintendency and having to, have like 100,000 students that it's just crazy. It would be like taking over a major metropolitan school system.
I just thought I'd
On that happy note, Sawyer, what do you have for us this week?
Thank you. So I'll start off with some sports. So girls basketball is currently 15-3. They had their last normal season game on the 16th, where they lost 23-31 against Holy Family. Their next game is the first playoff game next Tuesday, the 24th, against Pittsburgh at home at 6 o'clock. Boys basketball is currently 13-5. Their last game was also the 16th, where they won 52-18 against Holy Family. And then their next game is also the first playoff game next Monday, the 23rd, at home against Franklin at 6. Indoor track had their D2 state meet, where Ben Patrick placed 9th in the 3K with a time of 9:52. The boys 4x4 relay placed 10th with a time of 3:50. And then for hockey, yesterday they won against Timberlane 8-2, which was not just their first win of the season, but I was told was also their first win in 2 seasons.
Oh,
so
wow.
Great job to them. And then their next game is tomorrow, the 20th, away against Bishop Brady at 3:40. The swim team also had their D2 state meet. For girls, Annika Benson placed 3rd in the 50 free with a time of 26:28. She also placed 4th in the 100 free with a time of 59:11. For boys, Aiden Wu placed 9th in the 100 breaststroke with a time of 1:20:45. And then the boys had 3 relays. The 200 free relay placed 7th with a time of 1:58:67. The boys 400 free relay placed 7th with a time of 4:36:21. and then the boys 200 medley relay got disqualified. For events happening in the school, on the 11th was Chocolate Fest. I was unable to attend, but I heard it was wonderful. I also heard there was a great duet by Reagan Yunt and her little brother. They sang Sailor Song by Gigi Perez. We also had some of our seniors take the citizenship test. Then the National English Honor Society went to 6th grade science class to help Miss Boudreau's students with their lab reports. The Newmarket Has Heart Drive officially ended, and they ended up raising and donating $600 to the Newmarket Food Pantry. This past Tuesday, the band went on a field trip to go perform with the Sanborn Band, the middle school bands, and then the high school bands combined, respectively, and they each performed 2 songs. Tomorrow is Comfy Day, so if you're watching this, please wear your pajamas and make your way to the library for some free hot chocolate. On another note, yesterday there was an ice walkout. As someone who's extremely passionate about government and politics, I love to see people use their First Amendment right to protest something that they believe in, no matter what they're protesting. You might think that an event like this would cause division within our school community, but honestly, I think it was actually quite the opposite. At least with the people that I talked with, no matter what their personal or political beliefs were, everyone was extremely respectful with each other, and I think that just kind of shows how strong and close our Newmarket community is.
Sounds awesome. So Comfy Day, if you don't go to school here, you can't come, right?
I guess not.
But you can
All right.
still dress comfy and stay home. It's all right.
That's even comfier.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Todd, what's on your mind this week?
Sure. Actually, I want to start just going back to the basketball game. You know, the boys' basketball game on, what was it, Tuesday night? Tuesday night. Monday night. I have to say, one of the things that I've been very impressed in all of our athletic teams, but one of the things that struck me is just the incredible intensity that they played with throughout that game. And one of the things that's very characteristic of Newmarket athletes is the intensity they bring to the game. Even when they're not necessarily the best at the sport they're in, their intensity and their effort is always there. And it just struck me going into that game with Holy Family being a team supposedly of similar record and capacity to just completely dominate them. I think it spoke to the effort level of the team. It was great to see that. And I've similarly seen our girls team play very much. In fact, going back to the Christmas tournament that they won, that level of intensity is always there. And I just think that's a hallmark of Newmarket athletes is they have that competitive edge. And it's really exciting to see. And not in a mean-spirited way, just in an intensity thing. And I think it's great. I do want to just kind of follow up on a couple of things. I mean, obviously, Sawyer mentioned the walkout yesterday. And I did want to just say a couple of things just to give you some idea of how things went. I mean, I, like Sawyer, I really respect people exercising their First Amendment right. I think I have to say I did go out and just observe watching the kids go by because I do want to emphasize to the community that it was a student-driven effort. It was not a school-sponsored activity, but I did go out and watch the kids go by and watch what they were doing, and I had definitely a sense of pride of that the kids were actively expressing their views and that they did it in an appropriate manner. I did want to share some statistics, though, with the board. Just so there were 61 kids that participated in the walkout. We had very much messaged to kids and families that all school rules were in play. So any kid that was participating in it was required to have, parental approval. And I'm glad to report that almost 100%. I don't want to say it was 100%, but it was just short of 100% of the students followed through on that. And there was just a tremendous respect and understanding that you could not disrupt the school day, and it went off without any significant issues. I think it is important to point out that there are differences of opinion in our community, and there are people who, in fact, I ended up speaking to a few of them on the phone on Tuesday and Wednesday, concerned that we should have prevented it from happening. I do want to just, when Principal Corman and I we're making the decisions about how to manage it, we don't do it in a vacuum. We did take a look at a lot of other school systems. In fact, one of the things that I think was impressive about the student organizers is that they were talking with other schools and other districts as to how they organized. And we did the same thing, just how did they respond? And anybody can just Google ice walkouts, New Hampshire and high schools, and there's 16 or 18 high schools that have articles about them. And virtually everybody managed it much the same way that Newmarket did. We definitely wanted the message to be to the kids that we 100% respect their freedom of speech, but it can't impinge upon everybody's right to an education, and that we are going to enforce all of the rules. We emphasized repeatedly safety and smooth operating of the school. If those two things are the things we're going to be looking at. And I think I'm not going to lie, it would have been easier for Mr. Corman and myself to have not had to manage that event on Wednesday, but I respect the kids, and like I said, watching it happen, there was a sense of pride that they did it appropriately, and it was done in a positive way in general. I do think it's important to recognize, one of the things we did at the end of the day, today actually, was we surveyed our teaching staff to just ask, have you, because one of the things you have to think about is not just at the event, what about the after effects? Are you seeing any increase in tensions and so forth across the school? And there were a small number of issues that were observed, and I think we do have some sort of cultural climate stuff that we need to work around, because it would be unfortunate to think of this as a Newmarket specific thing. I mean, the ice and ice walkouts is a national issue, and this is very polarizing, and it's not just a Newmarket thing, it's everywhere. And so I think there's some of that, and we're going to need to manage it. One of the things that Mr. Corman and I have emphasized to every parent that we've talked to is that everybody needs to feel safe in our school, and just because you don't have an opinion that matches the mainstream, it doesn't mean you don't have a right to be respected. And so we are working to try to make sure that that's the case. But again, from the standpoint of the student leaders who organized it, I feel they've absolutely respected the process, and it was as smooth as it could have been. And from my perspective, the easiest thing would have been to have had it not happen, but it was an absolute demonstration of First Amendment rights, and I commend the kids for that. So enough said on that. Kind of tying into this, I did want to mention, I did send out a letter. I told you about this at the last meeting. Coincidentally, it was last week, just before the ICE protest, although the two things were not connected. The letter was drafted and ready to go before anything. But the letter was intended to go to the community to share resources, not taking a stand on anything, just community resources. One of the things that the letter emphasized was that should there be any enforcement activities, we can't know as a school district, because there's no real concrete way for us to find out which families might be more impacted than others. So we wanted to make sure the resources were available to everybody. So we did send that out. I did get a couple of community responses connecting that, although after talking with people, they were very respectful and said, oh, okay, that makes sense. I do want to emphasize a couple of things about that letter. That came about out of a collaborative planning process with the Newmarket Police Department, with our school building crisis teams. It wasn't a Todd Allen letter. It was we felt that was a need in this situation that needed to be addressed, so we put information in people's hands, and that's all it was intended to be. No political persuasion there. It's just, if these resources can help you, use them. And so they are on our website. If you didn't get the letter, they're under the counseling department's website. So enough said on ICE, I think. I did want to kind of talk a little bit about what Kathy mentioned. It was actually pretty neat. We had Kathy set up a meeting with Ashley Wade from the New Hampshire Fair Funding Project. We actually had some contact with the New Hampshire Fair Funding Project last year. Before Jana passed away, we had some conversation about being part of a data collection study they were doing, particularly around special education funding. And certainly, I think we would be able to do that now. But the New Hampshire Fair Funding Project is a nonprofit entity that is really trying to promote public education and the issues around funding and fair funding in the state. And so what they've been doing is, it's a new initiative where they're going to start trying to help do some PR work for public schools. And so through Kathy's connections, Ashley Wade came by and we spent a couple of hours together, kind of taught, and it was actually kind of a neat thing because you know, when you work in a school and just do things on a daily basis, sometimes you sort of take for granted like what is and what you do. And it was an opportunity to really spend a lot of time just talking about what are the things that we are proud of in the Newmarket schools. And the word community came up. I lost track of how many times.
It's the first thing that came out of everybody's mouth.
Yeah, so, and one of the things that I found really wonderful about the opportunity to have the conversation was Kathy and I started with just an informal conversation in my office. And then we just sort of, on random, went over to the elementary school and just started bopping around and running into people and ran into, you know, Sean Pine and Nancy Miller, PE, Nancy Miller 1-2, spent a lot of time talking about, wow, how many Nancy Millers do you have? You know, that kind of thing. But every single interaction when Ashley would ask people without any prompting, well, what comes to mind when you think of Newmarket? Everybody said, it's the community, it's the community. And I do think that's one of those things that it's important not to lose sight of, because so much of school success is not about what happens in the school, it's the support you get from your community. And I think that's something that will definitely come out loud and clear. But I'm excited to see what she comes up with. I felt like we talked at her for 2.5 hours. She was feverishly taking notes. It's going to be interesting to see. She's going to draft an article and send it to us next week, and we'll see what it is. Once it's done, it's going to be on the New Hampshire Fair Funding Project website, and we'll also link it on ours as just sort of an opportunity to learn more about our schools.
Then if it's short enough, we can probably, print it out and put flyers in different locations around Newmarket.
Absolutely.
Just add it to newsletters
Yeah.
or whatever, because I think it's important it was, as kind of a newbie, it was very exciting for me to be able to, especially walk through the elementary school, because that was me. I was right there in those walls at one point, those halls, and just seeing how much has changed but hasn't changed was kind of exciting. And then Ashley, I think, given her background as a music teacher who worked with activities outside of the Portsmouth schools, after-school programs, she was well connected to. And I think she's going to be a storyteller.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a nice story.
So I look forward to seeing the
Yes,
story she
and,
creates.
you know,
about it.
if you have anything you want to add, I did give Dan the Word document, but after the meeting yesterday, I didn't feel we had to share it any further, but if you want to add anything at any point, just let me know. And
If I can just piggyback on the idea of community, Newmarket has heart. I don't know what all of the classes in elementary school chose, but they all chose a local organization. And my daughter, they made a soup and they walked it down to, oh no, I'm gonna forget where they walked it down. They walked the soup down to, I don't think it was the
Food
Pines.
pantry, right? Didn't they go to the food pantry?
That actually came up. Somebody
Yeah,
told
maybe.
that story, because I remember, I don't have the details, but somebody brought that up as being something that was one of the neat activities.
And the
Okay.
community like donating to the community fridge and Mary's Dogs Animal Shelter, and just the fact that kids were very, very interested and involved in
Yeah.
giving back to their community. It continues to kind of overwhelm me that
Yeah.
the kids feel that too, this need to give
Yeah.
back and support the
Yep.
community as a whole.
I think that's why I went home so tired, because I was so overwhelmed with how many wonderful things that could come up in just the span of walking between two classrooms. So, and we wanted to get to the high school, but we knew it wasn't going to be but we did put a lot of plugs in for the high school.
We just knew there was a lot going on Wednesday.
That
So anyway, that was a wonderful thing, and I look forward to seeing the article. I did want to kind of just jump in on a couple of legislative things, just because I think it's important. Last week, I got an email from Mike Cahill, actually, and he said, "Hey, Todd, take a look at this video of the Senate Finance, Ed Finance Committee." And it was a hearing on, no, it was House Finance, excuse me. It was a hearing on HB 121 and HB 366. For those who don't know, who just don't memorize numbers, HB 121 is commonly referred to as the Claremont Bill. And it's basically a law that is trying to put more regulations on the financial management of school districts. And much of it is needed. There's no question, based on what happened in Claremont, had there been absolute requirements that audits were done, they would have avoided a lot of problems. But one of the topics that came up in it was a criticism of the caliber of business administrators that exist in New Hampshire. And they started, and I forget who it was, one of the people on the committee who obviously is not a fan of public education, started talking about how ridiculous it was that Claremont had an unqualified BA and all of this stuff. And Mike Cahill happened to be there, and so he went up and said, "Can I ask to testify?" And he actually cited the Newmarket. He talked about Jana and the challenges that we had as a school system around transitioning to a new BA, and that yes, we had hired an uncertified BA, but to say that this person is not qualified is just so unfair. And so he, without naming names, told the story. And one of the things that really stuck with me was this mentality that the reason that we don't have qualified BAs is because school districts are not trying to hire better people. But what was lost in the whole conversation is 3 years ago, the state legislature did away with certification requirements for BAs. So even the people who are currently BAs are no longer going to be certified officially after this year, because it's a 3-year certification cycle. So blaming the school systems that the state took something away and then is mad at them because they didn't do it, it's like, what are the rules here? So anyway, it was a very touching testimony, and if ever you want to go in and look at it, it's a nice little vignette of Michael talking about that. He also, by the way, brought up his proposed bill on retroactive building aid, basically trying to deal with school districts like Newmarket, who had took on a bond when no state aid was being available and trying to get it to be addressed. Sadly, as he testified, he said, "I feel badly, but I'm testifying against my own bill because you guys have gutted the whole thing and it makes no sense. So I'm testifying against my own bill." So it was unfortunate. So I don't think anything's going to come of it, but thanks to Mike for continuing to fight that fight. One thing I did want to mention about open enrollment, just because it's the hot topic these days, there is a bill, HB 1280, that certainly school districts or many superintendents in school districts are hoping will get some traction. And basically what it is it's a bill that would put together a study commission for a year at least to figure out the ramifications of open enrollment before enacting it. One of the things that's scary is if they go forward with something and enact it like almost immediately, which is what has been talked about. So HB 1280 is that study commission, and a number of people are submitting testimony on that.
They had that hearing yesterday.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and it was interesting, some of the questions, but everybody except for one person spoke in support of it, because they said, don't put the...
Yeah. On that same theme, I do want to acknowledge that there's been a lot of lobbying being done with the legislature, but also with the governor's office on open enrollment. And there are signals coming from the governor's office that she is looking for political cover to be able to veto whatever comes out of the legislature. And so I'm going to mention 4 things that I'm told are are topics that the governor agrees on, that if we find any opportunity to talk about these things in public, it would be supported by the governor. One of them, got Jamie here, the impact on school athletics. As Kathy just pointed out, 42,000 kids play school sports. If you open the doors to go wherever you want, whenever you want, God knows what that means about athletics and teams, and so that's one. Second issue that there's agreement on is that the impact on the sending districts is going to be dramatic. So if you happen to be a district that has more kids leaving than coming in, it's going to be a financial hardship for those districts. Third issue is just it creates more disparity between the haves and the have-nots. So, and again, these are all things that I'm told that in lobbying efforts with the governor also agrees to these things. And the last one is that there are a number of legal issues that will blow up and become so significant that will delay doing it anyway unless you solve it first, such as special education funding. You can't go into open enrollment without solving that first. So anyway, I wanted to mention there's hope that the governor is going to have a cooler head and potentially not support whatever immediate open enrollment bill. She does support open enrollment long-term, though.
And just to say our part in that, a lot of this came from the fair funding letters that were sent around that
Yes.
we all signed. So New Hampshire Fair Funding is having, for its just short-lived life here right now, it just started last year, they're having a huge impact on a lot of this with public
Yeah.
education.
Yeah. So anyway, the narrative is hopefully beginning to shift a little bit. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, just because I know it came up last year, and it may come up again. You may recall we were struggling because federal grant funds were being withheld this past year, and a lot of it tied into what many people call the loyalty pledge. 4 school districts did sue the federal government on it, and they all prevailed in court. So the ability to force school districts to not use things like terms like diversity, equity, inclusion, the courts have ruled that the feds can't do that. So that was good news.
Has
So
the new commissioner commented at all on the open enrollment topics they listed?
To be honest, I think that the new commissioner, she's a lovely person, but I think she is keeping in mind that she is a political appointee that serves at the whim of the governor and is responsible for implementing what the legislature generates. And if she gets too far out ahead of herself, she won't be commissioner very much longer. So I think she's being very careful with what she's doing. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Todd. Discussion items. So the policy committee, again, we decided to advance 5 policies. The first one is completely new. It's not one that Newmarket currently has. KIA, which is a policy governing our visitor wireless network, which maybe Jason will come and just quickly explain to us what that is, what that means,
And this one is for second read tonight.
Oh,
Yep,
yes,
yep,
correct.
yep.
Check, check. All right. So we talked about this one probably 2 weeks ago. I went into a little too much detail, so I'll keep it higher level this time. In short, this policy creates some guidelines and rules for folks that visit our district, whether they're here for professional development, contractors, you name it, anyone that's not an employee or student that uses our network. And these networks are spun up temporarily, so as needed, and they're internet only. So secure, only available when needed, no more open guest network like we've done in the past.
Any questions on that? All right, thanks, Jason.
And you're welcome.
Hey, don't go anywhere. So we, and Todd's correct, that was a second read on that policy, so we'll vote on it tonight. The 4 others are first reads. 3 of them relate to technology specifically. JICL, which is excuse me, no changes. It's not a revision. We just reviewed it, and the policy committee recommends that we readopt it as it is. That's responsible use of technology for students. JICL R1 is the, sorry, what's the term for the R policies?
It's a procedural document.
Yeah, a procedural document that goes along with JICL, just explaining the implementation. And GBEF R1 is a procedural document that goes along with policy GBEF, that's responsible use of technology for employees. Again, these are first reads. I believe GBEF R1 is that new, or did we
Yeah,
just?
it did not, neither of these existed in the form they're in now. I think Jason's team, they did quite a bit of work on it. I mean, basically, JICLR existed, but it's being completely replaced.
Correct.
And is that true also about JBEFR?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe
So
you
I
should
think,
talk.
yeah, so the, really took those two procedures, blew them up, started fresh. I think the last time they were updated was 2013. A lot's changed since then, right? They were also a lot more general in nature, so unacceptable use, responsible use, but no security details, nothing about data privacy. All the stuff we're doing today and doing well wasn't really defined in there. So we've also included some language around, again, cyber threats that we're facing today, data privacy, one-to-one student devices. Every kid has a Chromebook now. We don't have that in there. Cloud-based systems. I think in the old one they were referenced as external databases. That's changed. We're relying on a lot of cloud services. AI tools, that wasn't there. And personal devices too. So again, modernized everything. Got rid of the CD-ROM and magnetic media. Right.
Removed all references to dial-up services.
Tapes and, yeah, so again, personal devices, Chromebooks, cloud AI, really addressing the realities that we weren't thinking of back in 2013. AI is a big one. We are going to begin working on a formal AI policy, as we've discussed. There is some language in here, but in the responsible use procedures, it's really, you know, if you only know one or two things about using AI, it's in here. Don't upload personally identifiable information. Don't put your social in there. Don't put too much trust in it. Use it responsibly. So that's the modernization of the plans. Something I'm proud about is the language we've used in there. So we got rid of all the legal language, technical language, and put, you know, you can read it and understand what it says. I think that goes for staff members and then parents and most students, right? Maybe not some of our younger elementary folks. And an example of that is the copyright laws or copyright piece. And the language we have in there now is sharing or copying digital content you don't have permission to use. So clear cut, easy to understand. The organization of the procedures is the staff matches the students in nice logical flow. Things are clearly separated, something the old policy or old procedure didn't have. It was really three pieces. Again, stronger cybersecurity protections. We have language in there for minimum password requirements, multi-factor authentication, which wasn't in the old one, mandatory cyber awareness training that we're doing at least 2 times a year now. Expectations around protecting data, and then defined incident reporting. So it's great if we train folks on how to spot things and what to look out for, but if we don't get notified on it, it doesn't matter. So there's some language in there in the procedures. Again, strong data privacy and governance. One of the laws coming from the state was HB 1612. I think it's a long time ago now, but it's something that impacts us daily and allows us to keep staff and students off of applications that don't meet a certain minimum standard. So it turned out it was a pain meeting compliance, but once we got there, we're in a much better spot today. So language in both procedures that say, hey, if this app's not approved, don't use it or are not allowed to use it. And then we have technical controls in place to prevent that too. Clear data handling expectations, that's something we've continued to do a better job at. I think Chris Reeves, our data and systems specialist, when he came in, he noticed a lot of things as far as what people had access to, so we continue to tighten and tighten with access controls. To that point, there's clear language in there that says don't use a personal device to access staff or student data. And also for device use, so moving on to another section, each procedure has clear language on personal devices. And we are working on, we have the student BYOD policy that we adopted, I think it was at the end of last year, working on one for staff.
And
that-
actually, it was very lucky that we had adopted it when the
Yeah,
cell
it kinda
phone
worked
thing went
out.
into play. It allowed us to have something to fall back on with the personal devices connected to the
Yeah.
cell phone ban.
Yep,
rules.
and it held up to the
Yep.
unexpected legislation that we dealt with, so good policy. Again, working on one with staff, and that will coincide with this staff procedures here. What else do we have in there? Some clear language around accountability, so we monitor all your traffic, that's clearly in there. No expectation of privacy, so anyone that looks at this, there's no opportunity to miss that. And access to technology is a privilege, clearly defined, and then some enforcement language too. What happens if you violate the policy? That's some of the big highlights. A couple additions that we threw in there were digital citizenship and online behavior, something that wasn't in the old one, and just some basic guidelines for students, how to be nice online and protect their own data. So last 2 points for staff. Again, I already covered the AI tools, not uploading PII. And then one of the last minute ads that we threw in there at the last policy meeting, or right before that, was we had device care instructions or requirements for students. We didn't have that for staff, and we had a couple damages in 1 week, and I said, you know what, it's probably a good time to add something in there. So
putting your laptop in a bucket of water is not a good idea, is that what you're telling me?
yeah. We had a Chromebook come in today that was in 2 pieces. I was like, that's vandalism, right? And Austin says, I don't know, it's 3 years old. And I'm like, my laptop's 3 years old. It's never multiplied.
Never been in 2 pieces, yeah.
So that's the gist of those 2 procedures. Any questions?
I'll just highlight my favorite moment from the policy committee when Jeff looked at him and said, so use of technology is a privilege. Are we prepared to have kids use a pencil and paper if need be? And the answer was, yes, absolutely, we are.
We've done it.
Fair warning to the students, behave or you will be handed a pencil and paper.
And it's not easy in the technology world to function with just
No.
pencil and paper.
On March 6th?
Yeah, we'll find out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to address
Yep.
this? Yeah. So the last one is not a technology policy. It actually, Patty worked on this one. It's really a completion of the loop around all the 306 policy changes that we made. Really, this is an alternative learning plans policy. It already existed substantively exactly as it is. It's just the policy references had to change because we changed the other policies. So that's the only thing that's different in that.
Yeah, and just for clarification, 306 is our New Hampshire's Department of Education standards. We didn't actually go through 306 policies.
Yes.
Wow. All right, so next up on our agenda, we've got 2 facilities initiatives. I'm not quite sure we're ready to call them projects just
Yes.
yet.
No,
but
the concepts of
but-
projects.
Yep, and we have, yes, Dave Riley and Jamie Hayes here to speak to some of the
Why
specifics.
don't you guys come on? So just to kind of give the broad overview here, these are a couple of items that have been on our radar for quite some time. One is the shop space that we have been using largely as a STEAM space, but it needs upgrades to be able to be conducive to that purpose. And we're have some suggestions, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And the other one is the utilization of the Carpenter property across the street. It has been certainly on many people's radars, and certainly Jamie's radar, I know, to take a look at that from the standpoint of athletic fields. And I'll talk more about it in a minute when we get to that project, but I did want to invite Jamie, if you wouldn't mind, just to come to the mic and talk a little bit about what are the challenges with our current athletic space, and what would be the most beneficial from your perspective, were we able to do something across the street with the athletic project?
Well, one of the challenges is they are community fields, so we have first rights to them, but we don't have only rights. With federal funds, anybody can come in and use them. So that adds to the overuse. We have one full-size baseball field in town. We have one full-size soccer field in town. If we have a cross-country meet, we shut down the entire facility so we can do that, which also limits the number of cross-country meets that we can have. We haven't been able to entertain the use of middle school track because we don't have a place to put them. You know, we have our track teams running in the road and everything because we don't have a track. So I think it's just going to, number one, safety. Adding a facility would add to that. I went back and looked today. In the last 8 years, we've had to move 10 playoff soccer games to either Oyster River High School or Portsmouth High School because of the drainage and the condition of our field by the time we get to the end of October, middle of October. It just, our field doesn't hold up well with playing every middle school, every JV, every varsity game out there, with multiple people using it on the weekends. Our teams rarely get to practice on a full-size field because we try to stay off it when we don't have a game on it. So they're practicing on the U12 fields on the side. And it just, the wear and tear of, not to mention, it would open up space earlier in the winter if we had a turf field across the street, for example, with baseball and softball being able to, with the weather we have this year, who knows when they're going to get on the fields, but if they could get on a turf field, at least they, you can't do fly balls in the gym, you can't do long toss in the gym, you can't really open up and hit and pitch and, stuff like that. So, and then that opens up the gym to be able to do other opportunities in there as well. So, so there, not only does it impact what happens on the field, but it's just the whole community, as well as, the rec teams and travel soccer teams can only get so much use out there. Babe Ruth baseball can't get onto the fields until we're out of the way and things like that. So having more complex across the street would just open up for the whole community, not just the school.
Can you just talk a little bit about, there are programs that we aren't able to offer even though the numbers are there, like particularly at the middle school level. You can mention middle school track.
Right.
Are there other programs that might be able to expand to benefit more kids if we had space?
Yeah, we're a co-op football team, and so, maybe give us the opportunity to play some home football games instead of our kids going over there. Maybe we do half of the football games here. Lacrosse, we do it as a co-op with Oyster River, but, that's our only opportunity. We don't have a space that would be big enough to house a lacrosse field. Our biggest field has a baseball fence in it in the middle of lacrosse season. Field hockey, if we ever got to that low, so there are some community comes to us and says, can we add this? Can we try this and everything? And part of it is just as a space, we just don't have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, and it would be remiss if the concept that we're talking about, and I emphasize it is only concept at this point, includes a 6-lane track possibly too, which
Right.
currently does not exist at all, right?
No.
Right.
Like, as I said, Blake Neary and our track team does a phenomenal job with the space that they're given. They run in Maple Crest. That's their track. They've got lanes out and he's measured it out, and so they know when the turns are and everything. And but it puts us in the middle of a neighborhood. And the people over there have been great. When we first started it, there was a little bit of commotion, but it's been great. So. And right now we're traveling all over the state just to get our kids on a track. It would be nice to have an opportunity to have them here and to, you know, and to have community come and support. You know, one of the things in Sawyer's part of our salt group and not having a home track, and so we can have home meets and everything is very tough because no one really gets to see the great work they do unless they, you know, we can get a local one, and still, you know, not everybody's going to watch them. So it'd be awesome to be able to host a home meet to showcase, you know, what a great team we have.
I could add something to that. My freshman and sophomore year, we were able to go and practice at the Oyster River track a few times a week, and just being able to have that opportunity was incredible. And last year we weren't able to have that opportunity, and just noticing the difference in how practice was, even like team morale was a little bit lower. So being able to use a facility and a track it just has a ton of benefits for a team.
Any questions for Jamie before I let him go? Because I promised him he'd only be here for a few minutes.
Concept of a name of who that might be named after.
I'm thinking Hayes Field, I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, the only other thing I'd add is while the school district is obviously very, very interested in this as a possible project, it isn't just the school district. The rec department also
Absolutely.
sees a lot of
Yeah.
potential. The town more broadly, there's an interest there in whether some part of it might be used for a solar energy type. I mean, there's a lot of interest across the community in various things we could do with this, and it certainly wouldn't be a school district-only project if we were going to do it. We'd want to do it collaboratively with the rec department, the town,
Right.
and everyone else who's going to benefit from it.
Yes, so thank you, Jamie. I appreciate
Can I-
it. Appreciate
can I-
it.
Thank you.
Oh, you have a question? Go ahead.
I can't not stop. So now that we have the concept, what's the next step now? Do you
Well, we're
know?
going to talk about that next.
Oh,
I just wanted-
okay.
I wanted him to
That's
talk.
Dave's specialty.
I wanted him to talk about the need first. So he's talking about why this would be of value. We'll get into the specifics of the details in just a second.
Well, that's exciting. Thank you.
Absolutely,
All right.
I believe so.
So thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. So anyway, the two ideas we're coming here tonight are really steps down a path to make some things happen. The thing that makes both proposals potentially palatable in the short term is they're both eligible for impact fees as a way to pay for them. The shop space revisions is a relatively modest project, but it's a good step, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But because it's expanding a program, offering something that we are not currently able to do, it fits that. And any expansion of any facility, such as, in this case, an athletic field, is also eligible for it. So what we're really trying to do is to kind of get the ball rolling on these two ideas. We've talked about them in many situations. The shop space or the STEAM space that we want to begin to renovate, that's not something we don't have to decide on that anytime soon. Ideally, though, if we're going to do it, this summer would be a good time to take it on, and we'll talk about the specifics of that. The athletic field, we're really here to ask for the ability to do a request for proposals to get some form of a civil engineer, an architectural firm to come in, analyze what we're dealing with, listen to what it is we're dreaming that we want, and then give us that concrete idea of, okay, if this is what you want, this is what it would cost. So Dave, can you just kind of talk about you've met with your guys to talk about the shop. Can you start with like sort of conceptually what it is you've talked with your guys and what you think could be accomplished this summer? It's kind of outlined here.
Sure. What we're looking at, if you walk in the shop doors, the back right-hand corner, there's a sink. We would do a knee wall from there to where the closet is, just a low wall. That would be facility space. We don't have room in the facility shop for a table saw, a band saw. Not that we use them daily, but really nice to have when we need them. That would still leave the space accessible for STEAM students, but it would delineate a line and keep the power tools, separate. It would give us a workbench. Then we're looking at just reconfiguring the front half, the front 2/3 of the room, to make it more conducive to STEAM use. So it'd be hanging pegboard, changing shelving, that sort of thing. Now, we've already done a lot of that. We've cleared out a lot of space in there. It is currently being used. It would all be done in-house, because I've got a guy who loves doing carpentry, and he would build us that knee wall, so we could do it very inexpensively. And I think it would just be a great project, and that, you know, that space is not being utilized to its full potential, and I think this would help us get much closer to that.
And and so our thought is, we thought for $3,000.
Approximately.
Again, it could be paid for out of impact fees, that the materials really is the only cost, because
Yes.
we're already, the crew that would do it already works for us. But what it would do is it would be a step towards making it more of a STEAM space. Obviously, there are some structural things in that space that would be much more expensive to tackle. And actually, we don't think, with the ventilation that's there, we feel that we want to keep that ventilation, because at some point, having some form of a 3D laser printer or something like that may be something that we might want to consider. And there are grants available to that we might be able to secure. So we're thinking the ventilation units actually serve benefit, and frankly, obviously the table saws and things that you want to keep for your crew to be able to use for projects in the district are also potentially things that our robotics kids might benefit from periodically being able to use, because they also have that need. So having the space be convenient for both purposes, at least at this point, seems like a step in the right direction. There may be some other, when we get into budget development, there probably will be some conversation about changing the tables and some of the furniture in the room to be able to have it be more conducive, particularly if we're going to have like Lego robotics type competitions and things. There's spaces that, or tables, surfaces that we would need to purchase. But the basics of this is just divide it up and then basically create the storage space that would allow Stephanie Clary, who already has many of the items of equipment, but there's not any good place to keep them, and to basically make it more conducive to that use.
And nothing we'd be doing would be terribly permanent, anything, and relatively inexpensive. So it's, we're not taking a major step. We're not doing anything that we're stuck once we've done. So it keeps that space configurable. Should the needs change, we're ready to adjust with those needs.
Would you consult Stephanie about cabinetry? I ask this because I'm somebody who was STEAM put in a previously technology, like the computers room, and all my stuff is in Sterilite bins on top of cabinets. So it's one of those things, I think when I was first there, I was like, oh, no problem, this will work.
No, we've
So-
already had discussions with
Okay.
her regarding that. The tool cabinet, how we could reconfigure that to fit her needs, covering a wall with pegboard and how that would fit her needs. So yeah, we're definitely, she's the one using the room. It's to benefit the students, and we want to do whatever we can to enable her to best benefit the students.
Right. And it is, in terms of demand from students, there is definitely demand for STEAM-related classes. In fact, one of the things that we're in the process of doing is taking a look at our middle school program and what's offered in the Unified Arts block, and really wanting to beef that up and make it more meaningful. And then one of the things you'll notice when you go into the space right now is one whole wall is just robotics, FIRST robotics stuff. So clearly there's a significant demand there, and having a place to store all that would be lovely, because it would actually make the space itself more useful.
A sink is so key. I don't have a sink. And I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about it.
We definitely discussed it, and the sink stays on her side of the knee wall.
So again, we don't need a commitment tonight, but we wanted to throw this idea at you just to get you thinking about it. It's a step. It's not a dramatic step, but it would definitely make it would benefit our STEAM program.
Other questions from the board? I asked Todd this already, but I'll demonstrate my appreciation for triangulation management by asking as well. What's the appeal of the knee wall over just doing a full height demiser wall? The first thing that pops into my head, if you're talking about a shop space and a STEAM space, is sawdust.
Well, we have the vacuum system that will greatly limit the spread of sawdust. It allows the HVAC system to serve the whole space without any issues. It allows the sprinkler system to serve the whole space without issues. We don't want to stop the kids from using that equipment. We want to make it clear you need supervision for that equipment. Look, this is a separate area, but we don't want to run into any fire code or HVAC issues. So I think the knee wall satisfies both of those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now let's shift gears to because you've been working on the RFP for
For a feasibility
a
study.
feasibility study. You want to talk about what you've been working on?
Can we do? We've got great dreams. We've got big dreams. Are they reasonable? Can we do that in this space? We have a number of land studies that have been done for that space during the construction and looking at constructing over there. So I've got, binders this tall and I think that'll be a great help with whoever's doing the feasibility study. We don't just need a track and a field. We need bleachers. We need parking. We need access. When we have a cross-country event or a game against Epping, parking is mayhem. 220, 230, it's mayhem out here. We have access further down to Main Street and access to Packers Falls with that land. Would it be reasonable to do an entrance and an exit there? Where would we want to position the parking? Where do we want to position the field? What do we have to do with drainage? Honestly, if I knew all that, I'd be an engineer. So I want someone to come in and say, what are reasonable expectations? Here's what we'd love to do. Are we crazy? How much of this space or this land is really buildable, usable? What configuration makes the most sense? So it's really just a preliminary, reality check.
And to kind of jump off that, one of the things that Dave and I have also been engaged in is that the Energy Committee and Lindsay Butler, the town engineer, had reached out to us, must have been 3 or 4 months ago, because they were seeking out a partner to do a solar project. And one of the things that they have realized, in fact, they've asked us about putting solar panels on our roof multiple times, and multiple times we've answered the question, I'm sorry, we've done the engineering study, 100-year-old roof, it just can't be done. So they actually had approached us about the possibility of a canopy being placed over our parking lot and doing it that way. And so we ended up actually going over and touring the Oyster River Middle School project, which they did a canopy. But it really isn't a cost-effective thing for us as a standalone project. So we really were not able to embrace that idea. However, the town is working with a consulting firm called Soul Smart, and they came in and did studies on 5 potential locations in town as potential solar fields or solar arrays. One of them was the town hall, one of them was the police station, one of them was the Department of Public Works, one of them was the rec center, and then one of them was the Carpenter property. And the town actually has some property nearby on the Carpenter, near the Carpenter land as well. And not surprisingly, when you start looking at the potential payback, putting solar panels on the roof of the town hall, even if you could, which I don't believe you can because it's got the same problems that our buildings do, it's not going to generate much more than maybe the hot water in the building. It's not surprising that if you maximize the solar capacity of the land we have, there's a potential to generate a significant amount of power. In fact, and Dave and I laughed a little bit because they were talking about putting solar panels on every available inch of the space, which clearly that's of concern. But what drew us into the conversation was we knew we had a community desire to do something with athletic fields, and that we knew that once we could do whatever we were going to do with that, there was significant space if it could be utilized in some other way. And that's what led us into this conversation. So Soul Smart has completed their study. In fact, I'm meeting after vacation with Steve Fournier, and actually Dave and I and Bryant with Steve Fournier and Lindsay Butler to review the study and kind of take a look at it. But I think the next step will be for us to figure out, okay, what do we want to do with the property from an athletic field standpoint? Because obviously the capacity of solar is going to be dictated to some extent by what do we want to do over there. I think their current thoughts are probably too grandiose. I suspect it won't be quite as, I mean, they're talking about like, if they maximize all of the power, it could generate like 680% of the energy that our school system would need, meaning that we would generate 580% for revenue purposes. Clearly, that's not going to happen, but there's no question there is a point in there where we can probably generate a significant amount of power, and certainly if we partner with the town on it, it might be a project we want to consider. Again, I don't have a dog in the fight with regards to the solar array, other than, you know, in fact, while we were meeting with the Scott McGrath from the Energy Committee, and he's a runner himself, but he had approached us about solar. And I sort of, the vision of, imagine having a track meet, and our lights are on, and the solar array next to us is powering all of that. I think of the imagery to the community.
The lights are on. It's probably dark.
But the batteries that will
But
be.
I agree that the power would have already saved.
You're right. Yes, you get my point. See, you had to call me out on my imagery was a little bit lost in the dark.
The solar.
But anyway, this idea of trying to do this in partnership, because I do think one of the things that the conservation people, energy people have been frustrated by is trying to find a partner that they could do something substantive with. And again, you know, this is not, it's obviously not my call, but it's an exciting prospect. And so the idea of trying to get this RFP out so we can get some definitiveness, okay, what are we talking about? So that we can begin to have that more meaningful conversation. Because sorting all those issues out, it's going to take us a few years to get to a place where we can say, okay, here's where we're going. But it's an exciting possibility.
I think it'd be wonderful. You cover every single square inch of the thing in solar panels. Just put them about 40 yards in the air, and then the parking, the athletic fields, the track, you know, everything will go underneath it.
The problem is, once you do the steel work for that, it no longer pays. There's no longer a benefit to it.
You have to worry about rain.
I am the dream crusher, you'll remember. Ask Net Zero.
Once Lindsay meets with us and shares the report, and they share it with the town council and everything, I will invite her to come and share it with you guys, just so you can kind of see what the thinking is, so we can kind of understand it all. But I guess just sequentially, it's probably going to take you know, a good month or more once you put out an RFP to get bids and decide who it is, and then it's probably going to be 3 to 6 months to actually do the work and get us the information. So and again, this is the cost of this would be covered by impact fees, but it would allow us to kind of move the ball forward and get some precise information, hopefully by, you know, in a perfect world, maybe by July or August, we're able to say, okay, here's kind of conceptually what we're thinking.
But until we have that information from the RFP, we really don't know what we're looking at.
Right.
We don't know what our options are, and this would really help us to, you know, figure that out.
I think it's a great idea. I think including the town and realizing that it's not our property, it's the school and town's property, and that we should include them and benefit to the town as part of that work is great. The only thing I would suggest is that we probably also include in the RFP some kind of speculation on what kind of buildings could go there, say for a community center or a PD something, so that maybe we can't get that from the town, but at least have some discussions with the person to say, if hypothetically we wanted a 10,000 square foot X,
Right.
would it fit, you know?
Yeah, could it be even built
Could it
there?
even be considered?
Yeah, because I do know, I mean, my understanding was, there are a number of reasons why a new school wasn't built over there, but one of them was, it's not wetlands, but it's wetlands, as you
Damp and poorly drained, as I like to
Okay,
put it.
thank you. So that it was determined to be less, you know, not as good for that purpose.
Yes.
So they ruled it out. So I think major construction might
That
be
the soil is
questionable.
there is basically glacier leavings, and that would have to be removed and brought back in. There's a large granite outcropping in the middle 5 acres of the 15 acres that would require extensive blasting, and then the 5 acres on each side are damp and poorly drained. So to build a multi-story building would require significant site work.
but I know there's a need in the town. For
Yes.
a police, different police station. There's a need for some sort of community center or rec center that's improved, so I think it behooves us to spend the time and money to kind of think
Right.
about that now, so that we can maybe have a meeting with the town
Yeah.
council at some point and talk about a joint project.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and it's one of those things, you get one bite at the apple, and, you know, you want to do it right, for sure, yep.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, next on our discussion agenda, I hope everyone had a chance to look at the flyer that Ellen, I believe, put together?
Ellen
Yeah.
put together, yep.
Ellen put together that we want to distribute ahead of town election day. I guess I'll kick it off. All of them say the budget committee recommends 5-0, which if they only had 5 people, they wouldn't have had quorum.
Well,
Is
there,
that-
at the time that it was 5-0, and at the time, there were only 8 members of the budget committee. And so the only 5 were there, so they had a quorum on the night that they voted. But you are correct that if they'd had the full 11, 5 wouldn't have been enough, but
It was the same during the town presentation at the deliberative session. I noticed that it was.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That looked odd, but I guess there's a reason why.
I did really appreciate the color on the second page, the green and orange, but then also the first bullet under Article 5, about it being a balance transfer. I think that's a perfect way to describe something that, it's like, okay, so as a taxpayer, I'm not going to stress that somebody's taking
right?
this from me or that I need to pay into something. So those are my 2 kudos.
Yeah,
On top of the fact that it's also just visually easy to look at and organize.
I really appreciate the kind of the continuity we've been able to have with these flyers year after year, and I think it makes it easier for the taxpayer to
Yep.
recognize, oh, yeah, there's gonna be a flyer, and, oh, if I go to the website, I can
Yep.
get it and very easily see what's going on.
So my thought
Appreciate
is,
the work.
maybe I can get Ellen to just make a bunch of these, and then you guys can decide where you want to put them, and just fan out and put them wherever you want.
So this is, the reason it's laid out the way it is this is a trifold, right?
Correct. Yep.
So the front cover is the top right, inside of the front cover is the bottom left, okay.
Yes, yep.
I mean, we might want to also make a copy of the PDF where you think about, well, if you were just going to do this as a one-page PDF, how would you reorganize this a bit? But, I mean, that's my only thought on the layout.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that's true. That would be fairly easy to do, I think. It's like somebody who's just going to our website is not necessarily thinking about it as a trifold. They're looking for
Yeah.
information, yeah.
Good point.
Yep.
Otherwise, yeah, I think it's good.
I find it hard to believe that it's the 2027 budget, but
I know.
I'm gonna believe you.
Scary.
Todd will double-check that for us, just to be sure it's so.
It is the FY '27, that's what we're talking about.
We're still waiting for flying cars, so I don't, just saying.
All right, any other comments or questions on the flyer?
Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, thank you.
They're not easy to put together.
Not at all. God, excuse me. So next up, and I apologize, it came out kind of late, but I sent to everyone on the board
My bad, 'cause I sent it.
yesterday. Well, I was going to take the blame for you. Our first draft of our self-evaluation for the past year. I hope everyone had a chance to look through it. I hope I don't cough to death before the end of this meeting. Yeah, I've got a few in my pocket still. Did anyone see anything in there, edits, suggestions?
No, I really appreciate you, Lonnie, taking the time to do it. Pardon me, I'm going to apparently talk too. There was one phrase that I really liked, and I'll try to find it, but there was one part you put in I thought was just fantastic, and I don't remember what it was.
I'll
but,
do it for compliments.
But, yeah. The other thing, just, I like the idea of the, having an elementary student representative. I think having once had an elementary student, I'm not sure that's something that could be sustained over the long term, and I'm wondering if maybe,
I was thinking more of a role, like, right, they have their
Yeah.
ambassadors that are, how many fifth graders?
well, I was wondering if maybe we had either like our student rep go down to the elementary school, or even the entire student, can't think of the term, student leadership, the student council,
Yeah,
thank you.
student council,
Student
yep.
government, even go down and talk to them
Yep.
periodically, if they'd be willing to. Might be a better way or an easier way to handle it, but I think it's a great idea.
Is there anything in here about the middle school? That same concept?
I think we sometimes get some of the middle school stuff, but yeah, agreed, I think.
Well, there are three distinct student government entities. There's the
Yeah.
student ambassadors, the elementary, there's middle school student council, and then there's the student council at the high school. So you could conceivably have similar strands there.
There is, yeah, page 3.
I just noticed that
Second
my
to the last
font
paragraph, you put it
bigger.
in the middle.
Yeah, I kind of, I guess my thought splits the difference a little bit in the sense that I don't know that it needs to be the same elementary school student or group of students every time. That could be sort of a rotating role, but I do think it's important and valuable to create something structured and regular coming from the elementary school. I can't remember if it ended up in here or in Todd's evaluation, but the observation somebody made that when the fifth grade ambassadors come to a meeting, we always put them right near the top of the agenda, which is the kind
Right.
thing to do. They come, they speak, and then as soon as they're done, they all bounce. You know, the families, the students.
Which I think you kind of have to at that age, right? I
You
mean,
kind of do, but also I don't know, the feeling just isn't quite the
as
same.
engaged. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're definitely right.
Could you do it before all the policy things? And I think we've been so
We could ask your
fortunate that our
daughter
high
about
school
the policy.
representatives
She's enjoyed it.
I mean, that's not easy to do. I would not expect, even a middle schooler
Yeah.
to do what,
Yeah.
Sawyer takes on. But perhaps we move them a little bit further down the agenda so they stay,
Yeah.
Sure.
for the superintendent report, they hear the,
absolutely. That's a great idea.
For those things, but
Yeah.
And
That's a
it
good
isn't
idea.
just the students in the room, too. It's, the community around the elementary school, you want them to feel the same kind of engagement, or I would like that anyway. So,
I did find the sentence under community engagement, you said we are on the right track and have successfully transitioned from being available to being active, which I thought was a really elegant way of putting it.
well, this came back from
ChatGPT?
no,
No.
notes from, this came back from notes from our first meeting in the library, when we were talking about, we're here all the time, and we're not approachable people, that we're, available for them, but, nobody knows who we are. And if they do, it's likely not because we're, in this role, it's because, you're Cam's dad, and you're, you're the superintendent who used to come from Oyster River, and aren't you glad you're here instead? And you live down the street from me, kind of thing.
or they're very angry.
Yeah, or that, so I just think, we're getting better. It was painstaking, I feel like a couple, I took things at one goal at a time, and probably could have not taken so long, but I felt like sometimes I was being a very harsh critic. And I don't think that we haven't made progress. I just think that I didn't want us to be like, oh wow, we're doing so great. Let's lay off the accelerator a little. Rather all right, let's keep the momentum going. More and more and
Yeah,
more.
I think you hit that on the head, because again, my first year looking at it, I think there's definitely things that I've seen you guys accomplish, and you've given us another step forward in this document, I believe.
And, not for nothing, there's always a balance you're looking for, because if the community is too aware of who their school board is, that probably means that things aren't going well. You want to be available, you want to be accessible, you want people to know that you're there to reach out to if they have a comment, a question, a complaint. But, I don't think we're helping the school district if everybody knows exactly who we are. Something probably else is on their minds at that point.
In a more perfect town, it's almost like some of the public correspondence, we'd have the people here because there wouldn't be any need to like not show your face, and there wouldn't be any intimidation factor. I know that we're all very intimidating, but it would be more of like an actual kind of like, I was really wondering about that. The school board meeting's this week. I'll pop in and.
And I'll say, there was never a time where that was common.
Yeah.
But there was a time where it was maybe a little more common. I'm thinking not only pre-pandemic, but also pre the first school building vote. It was a difficult time. It was a difficult conversation. Very sad to say that there are probably some people in this town who'll never speak to one another again over things that happened during that period of time. It's not the way anybody wanted it to be, and it takes a long time to heal some of those wounds, and I don't know that all of them are necessarily healed yet, but I do hope that people feel comfortable reaching out and coming down to see a meeting in person if they feel strongly about something. On the flip side, however, the fact that that isn't happening can also be interpreted as people are just happy with how things are going, and they don't feel the need to make that
Entice them.
appearance.
Come visit us. Give away a prize.
Anything else? All right, so Lonnie, do you feel like you have what you need to take a crack at wrapping this up?
Sure.
Okay.
If you have any thoughts, if you can send them to me so that I don't forget 5 minutes from now.
I had a red pen, I'd give it a big check.
Thank you so much, Lonnie, for drafting that. All right, we have upcoming school events.
Sure, you want me to run through them?
Please.
So we got school vacation next week, for those who don't already know, 23rd to the 27th. The tech-free day in the school is going to be March 6th, and the unplugged event in the community, also a tech-free day, is March 7th. We have a professional development day on March 10th, but that's also voting day. And it just, as I'm reading this, Dan, I'm reminded you wanted me to ask Jamie about whether the Winter Sports Awards would stay on that night, because it's election day. So anyway, I'll follow up on that. But as of right now, the high school winter awards is March 10th. The PTA meeting also March 10th. And then the 8th grade parent night is March 11th. And the SALT Kids Night Out event is March 13th. That's a Friday.
I'm happy to ask the PTA to put a voting reminder on the agenda that
Yep.
night, since they're.
Wait, but it's on election day.
But they set up their agenda.
The day before.
I see.
Don't forget to vote before you come to the meeting.
Well, yeah, but on your way to the meeting.
Dan, did you want to remind the board about the sign-up sheet for?
Yes, so if everyone could take a look at that. Ellen created a Google spreadsheet doc and shared it with everybody. Just pick some time slots when you'd be available to come sit at town hall that day. And we have to have 2 board members present
I signed up for one time.
do we? Well, okay, we've typically.
I've done it solo, so I don't know.
Okay, all right. We have to have at least 1 board member present. For some reason, I had 2 stuck in my head, but
I don't believe so.
Okay, well,
Do you know where to
fantastic.
sign up? Did it come in the email?
Yeah, Ellen sent a document out, I thought.
I can resend it after the
Okay.
meeting. if that-
I have the,
Questioning myself, so.
Get it back to the top of everyone's inbox,
Yeah.
so.
I have the email, I just don't see
Yeah,
that.
But,
that's
yeah,
okay.
thanks for the reminder.
For the
That's-
student, so Gary, Dan, and I are signing up.
Yeah, there may not be any times, Lonnie, that left that are suitable for you, unfortunately.
If I need,
Well, I may,
So you
Lonnie,
may
if you,
not have
if
to-
I
you're,
won't say anything.
if you're interested in doing later in the
Okay.
day, I may want to switch with you, because if Jamie can't reschedule the sports meeting, then, then I'm gonna be here at 6 regardless, so.
Okay.
But we'll look at that after.
But the entire board does have to be there at 7.
We all have to be there at 7
Yep.
Yeah.
We have to certify the vote.
at night.
7
Yes.
PM, we have to
Oh,
count,
really?
certify, rubber bands.
It's actually kind of fun.
It is
I
interesting.
didn't know.
I'm going to put that down.
I will say, if I wish to take the half a personal day, it would either be before 11:30 or after 30. So the one opening is the in between.
Splits the,
So,
yeah.
We can talk about that.
I'm happy to give an afternoon slot up or something. I'm not sure I can do the 11:30, but.
All right, we'll just take a look at it after, and, people can text as many as 2 other people at one time.
okay.
Well, it's for scheduling purposes. so-
Yes, okay, true.
And we do have one more meeting prior to that to resolve.
Okay, yeah, that's
Or
true
we
as
could give
well.
Jeff just the entire day.
Consequences of being sick.
Yeah.
All right, so we have, we don't need to vote on this because it's under $1,000, but we have a generous donation from NCEP to fund the participation in a music
Yeah,
festival.
the Greatest Music Festival every year, our bands and choral kids go. It's a great all-day event, and yeah, so this is a donation to allow them to continue to do that.
Thank you very much to NCEP. All right, moving into action items, I would look for a motion to approve the February 5th, 2026 public and non-public minutes.
I will so move.
Thank you,
Second.
Kathy. Thank you,
And the
Gary.
green light is fixed.
Beautiful.
Is it? We didn't even try it.
It is fixed, yeah, it's working.
Well, it warmed up, so they're not frozen anymore. Did anyone see anything in the minutes that needs correction or editing?
Yeah, Amaya was, I think, misspelled as Amaya.
That is a very good catch.
And then I think we just need to include, I hate to keep being that guy, but in non-public, the reason.
I thought we had it in there. It was a student
To
matter.
discuss the
It is,
student
it
matter,
says
you're
on
right.
the-
Yep.
Nope, you're right, my apologies. Oh, we don't have the time we adjourned, that's what it was.
We,
Or not the time we adjourned, we have the time we adjourned, we don't have the time we returned to public, which happened to be about the same time, but.
So probably like a minute before the adjournment.
Oh, wait a
Right.
minute, we entered into non-public at 6:45, we adjourned the meeting at 6:45. Those are either very, very short non-public.
no, that wasn't the case.
No, I figured it was more than a minute, because it takes us a minute to walk over there.
Yes, sorry, my iPad paginated this all in a very weird way.
And then this doesn't matter, but it just says the next meeting is September 4th, 2025.
Clearly not the case.
Time now have the
Okay.
Back to the Future theme
So we just need to get we need to identify
It's
the
the
actual
correct- yeah.
adjournment time.
We
Yeah, we'll get
returned
that, yeah.
to public and.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember we were in there for 15 minutes,
Yeah.
so. All right, thank
Okay,
you.
we'll fix that.
Subject to those corrections, all those in favor of approving the minutes from February the 5th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are 4-0-1 on that.
Technically, it's not a It's just 4-0. There's no abstention because he's not here.
All right, fair enough, 4-0.
Sorry, I'm really being, you're the parliamentary tonight.
Extremely pedantic.
Yeah, right, I am.
I like it. I would accept a motion on the manifest.
I move to approve the manifest for February 19th, 2026, in the amount of $670,834.11.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're unanimous, 4-0. And I would look for a motion to approve the second read of policy KIA, the Visitor Wireless Network Policy.
So moved.
Thank you, Gary. Do I have a second? Thank you, Kathy. Any questions, comments? All those,
Good call. Obviously.
yeah, Jason's done a lot of good work on again, you'd be surprised some of the things that were still in the policy manual on technology that really are not in any way relevant to anymore. So Jason and his team have done some good work going through it to get it aligned with the way we're actually functioning now. All those in favor? Aye. We are unanimous, 4-0. We don't have any need for a non-public tonight?
I don't have any need, nope.
All right. In that case, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Lonnie.
I can second it.
Thank you, Kathy. I'll just let everyone know our next meeting is going to be March 5th here at the high school. Come on out and see us.
Oh, before we, I did want to mention real quick, we did get a request, our March 19th and April 2nd meetings will be in the library because the drama department needs the space for tech. So just wanted to officially say that in public.
Thank you. Drama, it sounds so sophisticated.
Did I say drama? Drama, the drama department.
And March 5th will be the last meeting for Dan as chair and school board member, so please come down and fill up the audience.
Tell me what a terrible job I've done.
No,
you
well,
He loves the spotlight.
yeah.
All right, all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. We are unanimous, 4-0, and we are adjourned.